Hello, everybody. Just thank you for joining us today. Just want to let you know that we are standing by and we'll get started shortly. Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. The session you are joining us for is the early years. My name is Julie DiTullio, and I will be your moderator this evening. I'm pleased to introduce today's speaker, Caroline Graham. Caroline is a licensed professional counselor who has been on the school-based team with Jefferson Center for 5 years. Caroline has experience working with people across the lifespan, and she has focused her last 5 years working with elementary age children. She enjoys working with students of all ages and has extensive experience helping children who have experienced trauma. Caroline has training in synergetic play therapy, and she is skilled at working with children and their caregivers to provide therapy and education related to child development and self-regulation. Caroline focuses on a strengths-based, person-centered approach when working with children and their families. Today, Caroline is going to be talking about how what a child experiences and learns between the ages of 3 and 5 and how that experience forms the foundation of future growth. As a reminder, today's presentation, along with all of the presentations from the conference, will be available on demand after the live session for the next 30 days. Now, before I hand the mic over to Caroline, I have a few housekeeping items to cover about the presentation and the Helping Kids Thrive conference. First, I'd like to thank our sponsors and partners who have helped make this event possible today. It is a true community effort that we put on to put this together. So we would like to extend our thanks to Jeffco Public Schools, the Rotary Club of Golden, Delta Dental of Colorado, Westminster Medical Clinic, Source Communications, and the Jeffco PTA for your support. Next, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. If you have a question for our speaker, please feel free to send it through the Q&A tab at the right-hand side of your screen. It's the very far right tab on that white bar on the right side of your screen. We'll be answering questions at the end of the session, and if we don't get to your question, or if you would like to ask additional questions, we encourage you to attend our Q&A sessions with our speakers tonight from 8:30 until 9 o'clock. Also, if you experience any technical difficulties, please email us at webmaster@jcmh.org and we'll be available to help. And I'll put that link in the chat for you as well, just in case you need it. And finally, at the end of the presentation, we'll be asking you to please fill out the session evaluation by clicking on the link that we'll be putting in the chat. Your feedback is important as it helps us plan for future conferences. So without any further ado, I'd like to kick things off by welcoming Caroline. Caroline, over to you.
Thank you, Julie. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Of course, this is a little bit different than how we are normally presenting for Helping Kids Thrive for this great event hosted by Jefferson Center. So as Julie said, I've been on the school-based team with Jefferson Center for Mental Health for the last 5 years, but school-based math is a little different. So this is actually my 6th school year, and it's definitely a different school year than before. But I was just talking with Julie before, the kids are amazing and they are so adaptable and so resilient. So that's been really great to be back with them and be in my elementary building. I've actually been in the field for the last 10 years. And so I've been working with adults before being on the school-based team, and now, of course, in the elementary school. So along with my clinical practice and seeing the clients at the school, which is amazing, I also have 2 kids of my own, and one of which is in this preschool age range. So as I was going through putting my presentation together, it was a lot of good reminders for myself as a parent of things that I could improve at as I go about my time with my daughter. So just kind of all that to say, there's no such thing as a perfect parent. And as long as you are showing up for your child or the child that you are taking care of, that is the most important piece of anything. And if all you take away tonight is that it's important to show up for them and sort of meet them where they are as best you can, that is you are doing more than enough at that point. So this is my first time giving a presentation in this virtual style, and I've got to admit it's a little jarring just to see my face and not to see kind of everyone else, and I miss certainly that conversational piece of this. So if you have any questions, if you have a funny story about your child, if you are doing something that works really well for you, please enter that into the chat, and Julie can interrupt me anytime to share that feedback or questions. I definitely would like to make this as back and forth as possible. I'm also asking for a little bit of grace and just hoping that all the different pieces of this work, I have a PowerPoint and then a couple of videos that I'm hoping to be able to show you tonight as well. So speaking of that, so let me try and share I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint to start. So let's see. Click on that. Let me see. So I see it. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. So hopefully you can now see what I am sharing. Okay, and then there we go. So, and then Julie, just chime in if you can't. I'm going to count on you to help me out. And so if you can't see that, let me know. But I'm going to assume that we are good. Okay. So this is a little different than the Zooms that I've been doing with kids. So I'm just going to roll with it like this. Okay. So kind of the agenda of events tonight. I'll change that. So we are going to be discussing the different stages of development. And I actually like to start at birth as the stages really build upon themselves. And if you notice that there was a deficit or some type of interruption in your child's development at one of these stages, that's always something that you can go back and repair and add some additional skill building in that stage. We will also discuss developmental milestones tonight for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. And I also want you definitely to keep in mind that if your child, the person that you have this talk in mind for, have met some of these milestones ahead of time, that's great. If they haven't yet met some of the milestones I discussed, also great. As you know, it's such a spectrum and kids kind of develop when they are ready and on their time. However, if you feel like maybe your child is not kind of hitting a lot of the milestones that I briefly go over, or if you feel in your gut, your parent gut, your grown-up gut, that they aren't quite where they need to be, absolutely talk to your pediatrician, or if it's under the emotional health kind of umbrella, get a hold of somebody from Jefferson Center, and I will have contact information for you at the end to kind of check out that caregiver gut of yours. And then we will get to talk about stuff I love the development stuff, and I think it puts into context kind of where we need to go with helping our kids. But we'll talk about kids' brain development because kids' brains are amazing, and they develop so fast from 0 to 5. And then we will talk about some ways that you can support your child, the child that you are caring for, in some ways that you can really help strengthen their brain development. Okay, so I'm going to check back to make sure I'm not missing anything over here. Okay. So I think I can go down. There we go. Okay. So it is important to know what your child should be doing at this age and at each different stage even, and what is developmentally appropriate. So this model right here, this graphic that I have for you is from Erik Erikson's Stages of Development. And I'll have some sources for you too at the end. But he's a psychologist who developed one of the most popular and influential theories of development. His theory is based on the impact of social experiences across the lifespan. Erikson was interested in how social interaction and relationships played a role in the development and growth of human beings. And in each stage, Erikson believed that people experience a conflict that serves as a turning point in development. In Erikson's view, these conflicts are centered on either developing a psychological quality or failing to develop that quality. And during these times, the potential for personal growth is very high. So let's see. So again, choose slide. So this first stage is ages 0 to about 18 months, and it is trust versus mistrust. So the psychological conflict is the trust versus mistrust. The basic virtue is hope. An important event in this age is feeding. That is a very great way to build attachment, is the feeding style, whichever way that your child is fed. A great way to build some good attachment. And then the major question is, can I trust the people around me? So the first stage occurs, like I said, between birth and 18 months. And according to Erikson, it is the most important period of life because it shapes our view of the world. We know infants are entirely dependent on their caregivers, on their grown-ups, and that the quality of care during this time can really play an important role in shaping the child's personality. Children who learn to trust caregivers in infancy will learn to be more likely to form trusting relationships with others throughout their lives. I like the social referencing that is done during this age where your little one, starting about the time that they're mobile, learning to crawl, learning to walk, but they often have missteps, they get bumps and bruises, and they often look to us to let them know how they should feel. Very different, I guess, than the teenage brain. But during this stage, they really do that social referencing of putting everything in you for the most part. And so I'm sure you've all experienced it. They take a little spill, not something that was really hurtful to them, but look to you, and based on your response is how they will then respond. So those mirror neurons are already kicking in and kind of picking up what we are giving to them. So I think that's such an interesting thing that happens during this first stage. This next stage is stage 2, autonomy versus shame and doubt. And so this stage is from about that 18 months to about 3 years. And children are learning to develop a sense of personal control and physical skills, and certainly a sense of independence during this stage. This stage is why my heart stops when I take my daughter to playgrounds and she wants to do the tallest, the hardest obstacles at the playground, and I try, because I know she's also feeding off of me, just kind of hold my breath during a lot of our time out. So she's having a great time. I'm holding it all in. Kids really start choosing which toys they want to play with during this stage. They choose what foods they like, and seems to be more often than not foods that they do not like. And then the clothing they want to wear, they definitely have a say in that as well. So this slide here is actually my daughter in her bathing suit and snow boots. And so this is something I have learned a great deal of patience, and the fact that she really wants to advocate for herself and her own sense of style. And it's also where I choose my battle, but it's a great way to give kids a little bit of a longer leash, to let them have a say in the choices that they are able to make. As much as I try to guide her towards the things that go, it doesn't always, as you see, work out that way for us. And she loves to changes her clothes a lot during the day as well. Lots of laundry going on. Children really gain independence during this time, learning that they can make decisions on what they want. A lot of favorite words during this stage are me, mine, I can do it. Charlie, my daughter, says in the same cadence every time, I'll do it all by myself, with a lot of personality behind it. We really want kids leaving this stage feeling secure and confident. Potty training typically occurs during this time. Again, it didn't quite occur in this stage, not a big deal, but typically it does. And this is a huge moment for little ones. They are learning that they can control a bodily function, and this can really lead to a greater sense of independence. So as they're grown-ups, our role during this stage is to allow our kids to really explore the limits of their abilities. So whether that's with some food choices, some outfit choices, of course, with everything within reason. I'm not going to let her wear a bathing suit when it actually is snowing, nor am I going to let her eat candy corn for every meal, which would be her preference. So everything within reason, but still giving them a lot of choices can be very helpful in this stage. So for an example, rather than putting a child's clothing on, a supportive grown-up might have the patience to allow the child to try until they succeed or ask for assistance. The grown-ups can encourage the child to become more independent while at the same time protecting the child so that constant failure is avoided. Patience from the grown-ups is important at all stages, but I personally find this has really tested my patience more than the previous stage, or maybe just in a different way. They are doing things by themselves and for themselves, which means I just need to have the awareness to schedule about anywhere between 5 and 30 minutes to get us out the door for where we need to be during this stage. So as the grown-up, we can provide an encouraging environment for our little ones. And while we don't want constant failure, we do want failure to happen, again, within reason. We can really start teaching some of that growth mindset during this time. If you're not familiar with growth mindset, there are a ton of resources out there, but it's really about knowing that failure is a part of life and that you can try again. So not giving up, trying your best. It's all about, I can't do this yet, and that yet is huge. The aim for this stage is self-control without a loss of self-esteem. So a delicate balance is really required from the grown-ups. With everything, it's a delicate balance, a very, very delicate dance, this parenthood and caregiving. We must try not to do everything for the child, but if the child fails at a particular task, we don't need to criticize for the failures and accidents, and especially with the toilet training and potty training. Kids in this stage are encouraged or supported. With increased independence, they will become more confident and secure in their ability to survive in the world. If children are criticized or overly controlled, or not given the opportunity to assert themselves, they begin to feel inadequate in their abilities, and they then become overly dependent upon others or lack self-esteem. So that's why it is a delicate dance that we are doing to kind of give enough control and enough power to them, again, within reason. So we are up to the preschool years, and so that is what you are here for tonight. So we will spend the rest of our time talking about preschool development this evening. So preschool development at this stage is initiative versus guilt from Erickson's model for stage 3. So during this time, you will see kids assert their power and control over the world through directing play and other social interactions. Central to this stage is play, as it provides children with the opportunity to explore their interpersonal skills through initiating activities. Conversely, children who are over-directed by adults may struggle to develop a sense of initiative and confidence in their own abilities. Success in this stage leads to purpose. They ask a lot of questions during this stage. And so really one thing that we can do to help foster positive brain development is, let's see. Okay, so sorry, something popped up on my screen, got a little distracted there. So something that we can really foster is during all of the question asking is we can really be mindful in our responses. And I know questions are happening at you all day long. A lot of times I get the same exact question again right after I answered it. And so one thing that we can do and that I'm trying to do more of is to really put it back on the child of why is the sky blue? So you go, oh, why? Okay, let me get ready for this one. So I come up with my best answer, then it's a but why, or the same exact question, but why is the sky blue? So I will, it's important not to think of it as a nuisance or as a bother, but to really help their inquisitive minds explore or dig a little bit deeper. I tend to bring it back to the child that I'm working with or my own child. Of why do you think it's blue? What do you think about the sky being blue? So that's a good way, especially if you don't know the answer, a good way to have them start some more critical, deeper thinking as well. During this stage, it is important that we give a lot of play opportunities. We can also involve social skills and encourage their interpersonal skills through play. I know right now it is a different time. And so your social opportunities or social lives likely look a little bit different than they did before. And it can be certainly more of a challenge during COVID times of when we are being more cautious in the people that we are surrounding ourselves with. And so if they don't have as much interaction as they did before, or you would like them to have, they just take, I guess, a little bit of peace in knowing that they are also always learning from you and learning social skills from you. So whether you are talking on the phone, in my house, we do a lot of FaceTiming with family. They are learning social skills and conversational skills through what you are doing. We take a lot of walks here now. And so even as I'm saying hi to neighbors and waving, those are things that are really hopefully setting some type of modeling for my daughter, and that I can take a little bit of peace in knowing that she's still seeing social skills that might just look a little bit differently than I had hoped for her. So as I said, central to this stage is play. It provides kids with the opportunity to explore their interpersonal skills through initiating activities. Kids begin to plan activities, make up games, and initiate play with others. And if given the opportunity, children develop a sense of initiative and feel secure in their ability to lead others and make decisions during this time. So I'm going to put out a question, and I would love to know, as we're talking a little bit about play, and we'll talk more about play later on and maybe give some ideas too about how to incorporate play. But I'm hoping to ask a question and see how this goes. I would love to know how you incorporate play. What kind of play are you noticing from kids? So I just want to kind of open it up to hear a little bit about play. And so I think I need to switch here. So if you have any thoughts, any ideas about play, I would love to hear them. Hopefully I'm looking at the right thing. Okay, well, we will have more, think on it. We will have more opportunity to talk about play in a few moments. Okay. Got my own, I'm hoping this is all that you all are able to hear and see all this. Okay. So let's see. So teaching your kids to have self-control and exercise self-control and to have a conscience is important. And that's a lot also about what this stage is about. And we will certainly talk more about self-control and self-regulation when we discuss the brain. So now I'm going to try to share a video because I feel like I've given you lots of information on different stages. And before we jump into the milestones and some things that kids typically hit during these years, I would love to show you some kids' brains and actions and have a little humor break. So let's, so I'm going to go over to here, screen share. Okay. Let's see, share my screen, Sorry, you're hearing me talk to myself. Yes, so here is this. Okay, and Julie, will you let me know if you cannot hear this? I'm going to share this video.
I am not getting any sound.
You can't hear it?
No.
Okay. Let me see if I can quickly. If not, I can always send this out, but it's a cute little, funny little clip about kids' brains really being honest. Let's see. Be screen sharing. Okay. And
Yeah,
I
it came
will
up in the chat. Somebody else said they can't hear it in the chat.
Oh. Are there any, let's see, microphone on, camera is on, share screen. Oh, well, shoot, okay. Okay, I don't know. I'll be real honest. I don't know how to make it so that we got sound. Sound there, sound is on here.
And I got one suggestion. There might be a share computer sound option.
I know on Zoom they have that, and I just
and if we can't get it, we can always share the link as well.
Absolutely. And it's 3.5 minutes, but it makes me laugh out loud every time I watch it. So I'm sorry you can't see it with me right now. And hopefully I can share it again in the future. Let's see. And settings. I'm just gonna share screen. Share screen. Okay, I'm gonna try one more time. Okay, sharing this tab. Okay, try it one more time. If not, we'll move on. So Julie, let me know. I don't have high hopes, but we'll try.
Okay. No, still not getting sound.
Okay, all right. We tried. We can send it out. Okay. Let's see. Let me go back to sharing my other screen, share screen. Again, I'm just talking to myself. Okay. Here we go. Okay, well then, sorry that you didn't get the little break for the humor break. But we will be able to we'll just roll on. We'll be flexible, just like the kids that I work with are. Oh, I wonder if I push it from here. Let's try that. Let's try this. Let's try. Yeah, no, okay, we tried. Can you hear it?
I don't see it.
No, okay. Okay, now I got to get back to I apologize for just trying to share screen. Share screen. Okay, there we go. We're back. We'll move forward. All right, so developmental milestones. Oh, and then Julie, are there any questions or any comments that I need to address before I move on?
We just had a couple of answers to the question, how do you incorporate play? And
Oh, great.
one answer was cooking and one answer was gardening.
Those are amazing. Those are great ways to incorporate play. Both through, I'm just thinking of the attachment that is happening during that time. And I know what cooking and gardening is like with preschoolers, so also amazing that you have the patience to do those things. But those are great ways to incorporate play and to really get that hands-on, because both of those are so use so many different senses, and so those are great ways to incorporate play. So thank you for sharing that. I like hearing about that. And again, some good patience that you all have to do that. So we'll just go 3, 4, 5. And so for 3-year-olds, so this is the year that kids typically start to use 5 or 6 words in a sentence. 3-year-olds start getting better at small muscle movements, like when using markers. And kids this age might start to be more interested in playing with other kids instead of near them. So it really moves from the parallel play of playing beside each other to playing together, which is great to see. And again, builds that social interaction. And then also for gross motor skills, I've got some things not on the slide, but they start to jump, hop, and stand on one foot. They can kick and throw a small ball, start pedaling a tricycle or bike. For fine motor skills, they might start working door handles and turn pages one at a time. For cognitive skills, by the end of year 3, kids typically can name 8 colors in a crayon box. They start to understand and get a sense of time, so morning, afternoon, nighttime, days of the week, things like that. They are able to follow 3-step directions, simple 3-step directions. I know with a lot of the kids that we work with in the schools, we try to use the language to really help it sink in and help them listen to us, hopefully, of first, then next or last. So first, we're going to put our books away. Then we're going to line up. Last, we're going to move to the cafeteria. So really setting it up with the first, then next, or first, then last can help have them make sense of the directions that you are giving. For social emotional milestones, like I said, they start to play with other kids. They show, maybe not name, but they start to show a variety of emotions, and they take turns. I didn't say they like to take turns, but they're able to start taking turns. And again, just to kind of, if you have kids that are doing some of these things way ahead of time, great. If you have kids that are not doing some of these things yet, great. Kids are all, it's such a wide spectrum there. And so again, listen to your gut. If you feel like, wow, they're really not meeting a lot of those, listen to that. But this is typically 3-year-olds, but it can really swing a great amount. So for 4-year-olds, they get much taller and more coordinated this year. They begin to express themselves in longer and more complicated sentences. And they might start tattling and acting a little bossy. And so some of you may say, oh, my kid is going to have some of those things. They also are able to throw and bounce a ball, jump with 2 feet, somersaults, skip and trot. So just coordination really increases during this time. Cognitive skills, they are able to sort things by attributes. So by size, by shape, by color. They can count to 20 and they point and count. So you set up 10 rocks, they're pointing to 1, 2 as they touch the rocks and point that way. They can put things in order from smallest to largest. For social emotional milestones, they can express a wider range of emotion. They share, they cooperate and take turns talking, tattling, again, during this year. And then they begin, you might notice they begin telling some small lies to avoid a consequence. But you might start to notice that a little bit of the lies start during that age. Also developmentally appropriate. For 5-year-olds. So 5-year-olds can hop, skip, jump, and dance. They talk in long sentences and they talk a lot. 5-year-olds usually start understanding right and wrong and notice how other kids act. They can use a pencil with the tripod grip. They can cut basic shapes with scissors. They are able, for their language, to talk about past, future, and present tense. They can compare items and objects and talk about opposites. For their social emotional milestones, they enjoy showing off to get attention. They might be silly, sing, dance. They could have tantrums or get frustrated if they feel like they're not being listened to. And they want to act like their friends and seek approval. So as your child or the child you have in mind or the child you work with meets these different milestones, it is a great opportunity then to introduce a new test to keep them challenged. So for example, as the ability to use Intensil improves, you can start teaching better table manners. So really building the skills on themselves. So now we get to talk about their social and emotional development and about their brains. And I do have another video. I'm not going to try it because I'm not long the videos at this point. But I'm going to talk to you and I'll try my best to walk you through what the video explained about how we can use our hands as a model of the brain. And we can even use this with our preschoolers to talk about the brain and how the brain develops. So our brains, I'm going to step back, take a pause. So I really want to say something about social and emotional development and how it is so important. We know physical health is important, but emotional wellness is equally as important. And it's just important to us as the grown-ups to teach skills to promote good development in the social emotional realm. Kids, preschoolers need a lot of support from the adults and the people around them to improve their emotional skills. We are their biggest teachers when it comes to social development. They're always watching, always listening, and learning from us and how we, as the grown-ups, respond in our relationships and within the environment around us. As I said, it's just as important as physical health. So, and I challenge you, the next time your preschooler has a big emotional reaction or becomes dysregulated, goes up their emotions elevator, however you want to describe it, has a big response. If you could look at it through the lens of a physical ailment, but as an emotional ailment, and so how we come to them and nurture them and greet them with compassion when they're sick. Do the same in those moments of dysregulation. And so if you can meet them with compassion, even when maybe they're kicking and screaming, that's going to really help promote their social and emotional wellness. I will be the first to say that is not always an easy thing to do, that when they are being nonsensical, when they're being irrational, my adult brain that is rational wants to have a conversation with them and wants to debate them. I've learned, and I try it anyways, that's not always the most helpful. It's not going to really get me to where I want to be. And so really meeting them and greeting them with compassion in those moments can be a hard but very helpful step in promoting their emotional wellness. Okay, so let's look at the brain and sort of how we interact with preschoolers through a brain development, brain science model. And so the video that I was going to show you is from Dr. Dan Siegel. He has written a lot of wonderful books about caring for children and doing it from a brain science approach. So I really appreciate that it's not just like skills he's kind of picking out of thin air, but it really is to meet kids where their developing brains are at. So I'm gonna put on my acting skills here since the video is not gonna work for us tonight, and we'll get these out to you. But if you take your hand, and so right here would be our spine, and then inside of our hand is our amygdala, it's really kind of the emotional part of our brain. You also have things like your heartbeat in this part of your brain. And yeah, again, just emotion is here. And then you put this part in front. This is your downstairs brain. So this part is really developed. I'm pretty sure, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure this is pretty well, this bottom part of your brain or your downstairs brain is developed at birth. This is why infants are so good at getting their needs met or letting their grown-up know what they need. So this is the fight, flight, and freeze response lives here. So when we have a perceived threat or there is a threat around us, our body is going to respond with either fighting, flighting, taking off, freezing, or now there's the newest one, fainting. And so that can be when there's a big threat to us or when there is a perceived threat. And a lot of kids have a lot of perceived threats. To us, we know it is not a threat, but kids, their brains are different. And they're still growing. So this is the downstairs brain. Or if you have any familiarity with the BrainWise program that is taught in a lot of the Jeffco schools, this is your lizard brain. And so this is fight, flight, freeze. This is emotion. And then bodily functions like heartbeat. And then what we do, this is the top part of your brain. So this is your upstairs brain. And so we bring that on front. So this is a model of my brain. This is my prefrontal cortex. This is where I do a lot of reasoning. This is where I'm able to act with empathy. This is my logical thinking, problem solving. This part of my brain is not developed until my late 20s. So this part, it is locked and loaded. It is ready to go almost from birth, or I think from birth, which is why when an infant cries, they are working from this part of their downstairs brain. So I'm going to bring my prefrontal cortex, and again, this is my brain sitting here in my skull. This is my upstairs or my wizard brain, and so you'll hear me use these interchangeably. So downstairs, emotion, fight, flight, freeze, lizard brain. This is my upstairs, my higher thinking brain, my wizard brain. And so again, not developed in your preschoolers yet. This is what we're helping them to develop and encouraging development in, but not yet developed. So what happens is a child becomes dysregulated. So they get frustrated, they get scared, they get sad, and their thinking brains, they flip their lid. And so this part of their brain, their logical, their reasoning brains, their prefrontal cortex is offline. They are not operating from this higher thinking part of their brain. They are operating from the downstairs brain or the lizard brain. And so they are operating from emotion. They might get hot. Their heart is beating faster. What happens is we try to help them. And I'll pause again. When they go offline, when they flip their lids, it is easy for us, our mirror neurons, to also flip our lids, or at least it is for me. When my daughter has a big response, especially over something that I perceive as a very small problem, and she flips her lid, it is real easy for me to flip my lid right back. And so then we've just got two people with thinking brains offline. We're getting no place quickly, and the emotion just is building. And my husband, working from home now, probably gets to hear us flipping our lids. So really what we are trying to do, and it takes patience and it takes us to be regulated ourselves, is help them to bring the thinking back online. So the ways that we can do this, and I might be getting ahead of myself in my slides, but we connect here. So we connect with compassion, we connect to their feeling. So it doesn't mean that we are doing permissive parenting, that we are letting them get whatever it is that they are kind of dysregulated or throwing a tantrum about. It means that we just connect to them. We show up for them. We connect with empathy until they are able to bring their wizard brain back online. When this happens, then you can do the problem solving and the teaching and the reflecting on maybe what can be done differently next time. But they're not able to listen to that when they're in this part of their brain. So hopefully I did the video justice, but downstairs brain, lizard brain, this is fight, flight, and freeze. This is where we have big emotions, heartbeats, and other bodily functions. Thinking brain. This part is not yet developed. We are helping them to develop this. So our job as the grown-up or the caregiver is to really provide opportunities for them to help build the wizard brain or the upstairs brain. And I think it's helpful too to think of even a time that you were dysregulated, that you flipped your little bit. And then to think about what was most helpful during that time. Was it helpful when somebody tried to solve your problem? When they were meeting you with, let's think about this logically, probably a little bit because your brain is developed. But I know for a lot of us, it's just we want somebody to listen, to hear us, and to meet us with emotion. And so our kids really want the same thing. Again, it doesn't mean that we're giving in to demands, but instead we can really help increase their empathy skills and model this for them. I'm trying to, and I do a lot better job when I'm in my clinical setting and working with those kids. I've got patience for days. For some reason, when I come home, it's maybe I've used it all in my work. And I'm just kidding about that. I've got lots of patience for Charlie. But I'm really trying to get more on her level when she has a big reaction. Sometimes I don't even say anything. If I know I can't say anything helpful in that moment, I might just hold her and listen and rock her. So I'm still meeting that part without even saying words. So let's get to ways that we can build up this wizard brain. And before I do that, I'm going to check in because I can only see what I'm looking at. So are there any questions? Are there any thoughts about this? The hand model of the brain? Or any feedback about that? What do you think about it?
I'm just watching the chat,
okay.
Caroline, to see if anything comes through.
Okay. And feel free to stop me, Julie, if anything comes up.
A lot of fun. It is talking cars, which is like Barbies, only with cars.
I love that. And how imaginative of the adult as well to like step into that role of giving voices. I mean, that play is
Exactly.
not, yeah, it's not always so easy for us as the adults to like really get into it. So I applaud whoever gave that suggestion, because that's, I mean, wow, I can imagine that the child lights up when cars come out and start talking. So I love that play idea. Okay, well, feel free to stop me. I feel like I'm just talking at everybody. So I'd love any thoughts of what works to share with other inquisitive minds here.
I'll keep an eye on it.
Okay, and then am I sharing my screen again? Can you see what I'm seeing?
Yes.
Okay, the Wizard Brain Builders.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So play, we just talked about it. We're going to talk more about it. Play is amazing. Play is how kids learn and communicate and explore. So it's really more than just a chance to have fun for kids. It is serious business when it comes to your preschoolers' health and development. And according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, play allows children to use their creativity while developing their imagination, dexterity, and physical, cognitive, and emotional strength. Play is important to healthy brain development. So play. Play also helps children develop new competencies that lead to enhanced confidence and the resiliency they will need to face future challenges. And I think play therapy is amazing. I love to do play therapy with kids because so much is, I cannot have a child, especially a younger child, kindergartner, first grade, even sometimes the fifth graders. I can't have them come in, sit in my office and say, tell me what's going on. What do you want to talk about today? It's not gonna be too effective in my clinical practice. So we do a lot of play, and it is a great way for the kids to communicate with me about what is going on in their worlds, about how they are feeling, about their emotions. So much is gained when we play. So play therapy is an amazing modality, and I'm a big believer in it, and I love to do it because I love to play. So it's really getting into their imaginations, characters, and plots that match their emotional states, helping them learn to express and regulate their feelings through play. They can also learn to cope with their emotions as they act out fear, frustration, anger, and aggression in a situation that they can control. So it really is a play, especially in maybe a play therapy setting, is a way to give them control in situations that are powerless or lack control for them in their real lives. So they're able to kind of play out these different things going on for them. And again, so much of how they communicate is through play. And it's hard for us. Sometimes it's hard for me. I'm like, I gotta get into really my acting skills and get down on their level and get voices and be, it can be hard for me to be that, to meet their imagination, but through practice, I guarantee it gets easier with play if it's not come so natural for you. It really can give them a sense of accomplishment and build their confidence and their self-perception. So it's great if you can join in the play and let the child lead you and make up the rules, make up the voices for the cars, give you characters, and for you just to follow their lead. It's also a great way to give them some observational feedback that won't limit their creativity. So, for example, your child is playing doctor, and so just kind of narrating almost what they're doing can help them bring that awareness, can help increase the emotional intelligence of, oh, now you are giving me a shot. And so you wince and your face is, oh, it's hurting. You're able to see that, to learn emotion. They, I bet, will make a winced face back at you because their mirror neurons are picking that up. And so they're able to really help right there kind of notice, have some some self-awareness in what they are doing, how they are acting it out, and build their empathy and build their noticing of emotions on others. So lots of great ways to use play to develop this part of their brain, to develop that wizard brain. Modeling. So as I said before, as you know, I do not have to tell you, they're sponges. They are soaking it all up, and it is amazing to me to watch and to learn from. Even when you think they're not listening, they're listening. When it comes to emotions and expressing ourselves, what we do can be just as important as what we say. So kids are learning about how we are managing our own stress and about how we express our emotion, how we communicate and relate to others. They are noticing that. They are picking that up. So being mindful of that. Of course, we can't be mindful of that all of the time, but just, I think sometimes it's helpful to remember, oh yeah, I've got this little person really taking note of how I interact in the world. And is that how you're teaching them to interact? So is what you are doing matching what you tell your preschooler to do? We can also practice name it to tame it, made famous by Dr. Dan Siegel, who I spoke of before, but he really believes in helping kids to name their emotions in order to control their emotions. So it's a little bit of a way when they are really frustrated to start to bring this part back down. It also lets our kids know that we see them. It helps them build their emotional vocabulary, which is such a help in regulating their feelings, especially at this age when they might not have the words. And so it's coming out of behaviors to help give them the language to name it so that they can tame it can be very, very impactful. And so keeping with that. We can also, and I talk with the kids that I work with, my kids that I've seen before, of really even paying attention to where we notice our emotions. And so if you're feeling frustrated, what does your face look like? You can have them look in a mirror. What are your hands doing? Are you really tight? So helping them to notice the signals in their bodies that's alerting them to a big response. So really helping them to have self-awareness for themselves. You can also do this through kids' books, any books. You can do this when you're out noticing people at a grocery store if you're going to grocery stores. But just to start picking up on what other people are feeling based on their body language, based on their face. So it's a great way to help just build, again, that emotional literacy to help them be aware of what's going on. And with all of this, with the all of caring for a child, you can't pour from an empty cup. So keeping in mind that self-care, whatever that is for you, if it's taking 5 extra minutes in the shower, if it's taking a walk, whatever it looks like for you to fill your cup back up, self-care is not selfish. It is necessary. If we are always flipping our lid because our cup is empty, our kids are noticing that. The preschoolers are picking up on that. And so to really be mindful of where your emotions elevator is, so that you're able to help model some of this for your kids, for the kids that you are caring for. Very, very important. And also to know and to give yourself grace and patience that you're going to flip your lid. You're going to react with lizard brain from time to time. Absolutely. Absolutely. We are human. That's going to happen. So to not beat yourself up about it, but to use it again as a great chance to model and to teach how to make a repair of, okay, I was feeling really frustrated earlier today when I was making you dinner and I made you what you asked for, and then I brought it, you didn't want it. I know that I flipped my lid, and you can use that language. You can teach this so that you have the common language in the household. To say, I flipped my lid today. I was feeling frustrated. I was stressed. It had been a long day. That you changed your mind and then wouldn't eat the dinner. I know that I got frustrated. My voice got a little bit louder than I wanted to. I know that happened. That's not how I wanted to have dinner go tonight. So if there is a rupture, if you do flip your lid, to model making a repair. And that is hugely beneficial as well. So just want to put out the little self-care. Please make sure that you are taking care of yourselves, especially during this high elevator time, just kind of as a society at large. Make sure that your cup is getting filled and that you're not operating from that empty cup. Sleep and water. So sleep, hugely important. Kids in the preschool age range typically need about 11 or 12 hours of sleep a day. So whether that's with a nap or maybe they've dropped a nap, making sure that they are getting to bed at a reasonable hour and that they are getting enough sleep. Because boy, if I know if I don't get enough sleep, I am doing this quite frequently during my day. And then also water. Water can really help as part of our brain. It can help our just operating system. So making sure that kids are also drinking plenty of water. So sleep and water, very important. Okay, any thoughts, any comments about some of these ways to build up wizard brains or the upstairs brain, prefrontal cortex, whatever you want to call this thinking brain? Any things that work for you? Questions, comments? I'd love to know that that you're all still out there.
I don't see anything yet. So we'll give it a minute or two.
Okay. Well, and please, if you have a great tip or have a question, please feel free to ask, to share with the group. All right. So I think, and then lastly, I didn't touch on co-regulation. So this is a lot like modeling. This is how we can help our kids get to a more balanced, get them back online state. And this can look different depending on your child's needs, your child's even senses, what works for them. I like to think a lot about that stage one, the newborns, infants, and what they need, because that can still very much work for preschoolers. It can work for adults. So when you think about an infant being upset, screaming, crying, what do? We might feed them, so giving them some water, just even the oral piece of that can be helpful. So we might try to feed them. Feeding also is a great way to build attachment. So even if you are have some crackers and you are feeding them, feeding is a hugely impactful thing. So asking about water, feeding, if that doesn't seem to work, again, I think of a newborn. What do? I kind of bounce. I move my body. Does your preschooler need to move their body? Do they need to bounce? Rocking. So things like if you have a swing and they're dysregulated, that is a great way to help their brains. Is the rocking motion, just like a newborn. It can help really calm down their nervous systems, can help this part come back. Or even swaddling. So you might swaddle a newborn. You can wrap your arms around your preschooler if they are high on their elevators. Wrap your arms around them. Again, you don't even have to say anything. Or put them on a tight blanket and have them kind of cozy in that way. So those are things that might help if you're noticing elevators are high. Again, it's going to depend on every child is unique and different, so finding what works for your preschooler.
Okay, we did get one comment. She says, I really like the hand model of the brain that you are using.
Well, watch Dr. Dan Siegel. It's his brain model, so please go back and we can share that, but please watch. He has lots of different ways to describe it, but it's amazing. And I love coming from this brain science and development approach of how we interact with kids, because it's really where their bodies and brains are at. So yes, I love it as well. It's a great, and you can teach it to your kids. You can teach them the language of flipping your lid. It's, I think, pretty catchy. So I think we are coming towards the end here, and I don't even, okay, I think I see time. So perfect. So I really want to think of discipline in a different light. So when I first think of discipline, I think of punitive, I think of go to your room, you need a timeout. And absolutely, there is going to be a place for that kind of discipline, of taking a break. But you want to make sure that first, discipline really means to teach. And so coming from the lens of teaching, especially, and it's hard. It is hard when emotions are high, when lizard brains are trying to come out, to teach. But it's really, that's what discipline is. And that is what our job is, again, to help them build these emotional skills and to build up this part of their brain effectively. We have to teach them. We also have to teach them when they're in this thinking part of their brain. So sometimes taking a break in their room, absolutely appropriate and needed for maybe both of you before you can come back and have those teaching moments. But just kind of thinking of discipline as to teach can be helpful when we are interacting with our preschoolers who are doing this a lot during one single day. Sometimes during 1 hour, they're doing a lot of that. So making sure that we are keeping that in mind, that our job is to teach them, or part of our job is to teach them, but also knowing that taking a break is very effective. The connect, then redirect that I have here, it is important, as I said before when we were talking about the brain, that you connect to this part first before you try to teach or redirect. How you connect is going to be dependent on your style, your relationship, your child. Sometimes, especially if you feel like you're not going to be able to have the tone or the words that you want, holding them. You're swaddling them while you're giving them a hug, you're rocking them, and it's helping connect to this piece. You can do the name it to tame it. And then, yeah, like I said, sometimes just sitting with them. I do have a book. I won't read it to you tonight because I think we're going to run out of time. But it is I use lots and lots of children's books and bibliotherapy in my practice and when I'm with kids, because it is a great way to notice people's feelings, just to build emotional intelligence. So if you have kids' books, take time to read those during your week, because it's a great way to build attachment, to connect, and to do some teaching. But this book here, I'm going to make sure I'm on my screen. It is called The Rabbit Listened. And so this is probably one of my favorite children's books that I've ever read. Even on the back it says, sometimes hugs say more than words. This is a great book, especially, I really think it's great for the grown-ups and the caregivers to read, that sometimes we don't need to fix their problems. We don't need to fix whatever it is. As we said earlier, failure sometimes needs to happen to help grow and to help learn. Sometimes just sitting with and listening is the best way to connect. So you can also look that up on YouTube. There's lots of different, you can have the story read to your child if you're interested in that. But it's an excellent children's book. Let me go back to where I'm sharing. Okay. And then lastly down here is things that I often tell families that I work with. And it's harder than maybe it should be for some of us because we're just so busy. And right now, especially, it looks so different in our schedules and routines. But also probably more important than ever to disengage to engage. So putting tablets, computers, phones away for 10 minutes a day and just being with your child, letting them lead you in play can be such a great way to build up their wizard brains, for you to attach, to connect, to be attuned to what's going on with them. I bet a lot of information comes up during that. But even I will admit, this is hard to put it all away, to not be thinking about what I need to be doing and to be mindful during that 10 minutes is hard. But it is so rewarding for both parties. So I really, really encourage you, and maybe make that your homework assignments. Even if you don't have 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes a week to start, of putting it all away, letting your child, within reason, choose what you are going to play, and having connection in that way. And I love this little quote. When little people are overwhelmed by big emotions, it is our job to share our calm, not to join the chaos. Easier said than done sometimes, because emotions are contagious. But if you keep that in mind, hopefully that will help just make Sundays smoother for you. If you're able to remember that you are the wizard brain in the room, that you are the thinking brain, and to help give skills and to teach and to maybe hopefully look at behaviors and emotions from a different lens is sort of my hope for you all, my hope for myself even. And then when to get some additional support. So as I said before, if you feel like in your gut, you're thinking maybe there's something going on with your preschooler, absolutely talk to a professional, pediatrician, therapist, psychologist. And if you're needing help getting connected to resources, we have the navigation team is great at Jefferson Center to help connect. So the number is there. And if you feel like your child's behaviors or mood are really impacting their day-to-day or your family's day-to-day lives and in different settings, so both at school, at home, then certainly worth checking into. So there's the number for Jefferson Center. I would encourage you. There's so much education going on at the center. There's so many wonderful clinicians that they are a great resource. And then here's a few of the resources. So these two books, The Whole Brain Child and No Drama Discipline, they're great with coming at parenting and caregiving from a brain-based brain science standpoint, which I really love. So that wraps it up. Whew, okay, what questions, what thoughts, what feedback do we have?
All right. I will keep an eye on the chat for that. Yeah, thank you so much. That was a really great presentation, really good information. So yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, and we do have some time for some questions. So please, everyone, feel free to put your questions in the chat and we'll just take them as they come in.
Perfect. And if there's no questions, I will be happy to read my children's book to everyone because it is amazing.
And in the meantime, I'm going to put the link to the class evaluation in the chat just so we can get that taken care of. So there is that. And yeah, and then we'll just wait a couple more minutes, I think, to see if we get some questions. And then if we don't, yeah, you can read the book.
Yeah, great. I started with the prevention team on, so I would go into the classes and teach the BrainWise curriculum. And so I used lots of kids' books. So that's right in my wheelhouse, is to read the book to my audience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay, I still don't see any questions coming in.
This is amazing that we were able to do this in this virtual way, and I'm so glad they still had it. And as a therapist, I like to see people's faces to get a read on the group. So this is like, whew, right. I got to sit with the. Right. I can't read anybody's face.
Yeah. And we did get a question, how will you share the links with us to the videos? And to let everyone know, I messaged our admin for the program tonight, and she will take care of that. So you will get the links to those videos.
Thank you.
You bet.
The funny one is just as worth watching as the brain one, I think. It's, even if not for your own self-care, it's kids are geniuses.
Okay. Well, I think maybe you can read the book, and then if
okay.
there's a few more minutes at the end, we can pick up with
It's a quick book, but it's okay. Worth doing some self-reflecting on which character you might align with. So this is listened. So let me get in a spot where the light is.
And Caroline, maybe if you stop the screen share with the slide, we can see the book a little bit better.
That would be great. Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah. Is that good?
There we go.
Okay, there we go. Basement dungeon office. Okay. One day, Taylor decided to build something new, something special, something amazing. Taylor was so proud. But then, out of nowhere, things came crashing down. So again, this is a great place to ask, what is he feeling? What is he thinking, to really help build some of that emotional intelligence. The chicken was the first to notice. Cluck, cluck, what a shame. I'm so sorry this happened. Let's talk about it. Cluck, cluck. But Taylor didn't feel like talking, so the chicken left. Next came the bear. Grr, roar, how horrible. I bet you feel so angry. Let's shout about it. Grr, roar, grr. But Taylor didn't feel like shouting, so the bear left. The elephant knew just what to do. Trumpada, I can fix this. We just need to remember exactly the way things were. But Taylor didn't feel like remembering, so the elephant also left. One by one they came. The hyena, hee, let's laugh about it. The ostrich, go, let's hide and pretend nothing happened. The kangaroo, tisk, tisk, what a mess, let's throw it all away. And the snake, shh, let's go knock someone else's. But Taylor didn't feel like doing anything with anybody. So eventually they all left until Taylor was alone. In the quiet, Taylor didn't even notice the rabbit, but it moved closer and closer until Taylor could feel its warm body. Together they sat in silence until Taylor said, "Please stay with me." The rabbit listened. The rabbit listened as Taylor talked. The rabbit listened as Taylor shouted. The rabbit listened as Taylor remembered and laughed. The rabbit listened to Taylor's plans to hide, to throw everything away, to ruin things for someone else. Through it all, the rabbit never left. And when the time was right, the rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to build again. "I can't wait," Taylor said. "It's going to be amazing." I like this because I think at some point we all take on some of these different personalities of those different characters. And sometimes, again, the most helpful way to connect is just to listen and to be with. So I hope you enjoyed that. You probably haven't been read to a children's book in a while, but I just love it.
Yeah, it's been a few years.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, oh, this is maybe kind of nice. I can reverse it for
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, we're usually the ones doing the reading. So
That's
yeah,
right.
great. All right. Well, I haven't seen any more questions come in. So I think we can probably wrap this up. Caroline, I want to thank you again for the great presentation. There was a lot of really good information tonight. And want to thank everybody who attended this evening and hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to fill out the session evaluation via the link that we put in the chat. And please also make sure to stop by the expo hall here at the virtual conference to learn more and connect with all of our community partners. As a closing message, we would like to remind you that no matter what you're facing in life, it's important to have the tools and resources that you and your family need to thrive. Jefferson Center is here for you. We are open, we're accepting new clients, and accessing care is easier than ever with the virtual appointments that we have now. You can visit our website at jcmh.org or follow us on Facebook for more resources and information. And you can also reach us. I know Caroline had the phone number up on the slide earlier. And again, that phone number is 303-425-0300. So thank you everyone again, and I hope everyone has a good night.
Thank you, and thank you for moderating. And then I think I'm back at 8:30 too. If you decide later you have a question, I'll be for the Q&A at 8:30, I believe.
Okay,
All
sounds
right.
great. All
Thanks,
righty.
everyone. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.